Former Sergeant Alex Morgan has been retired for 5 years, living in a prefab cabin on New Haven that he's modified extensively because keeping busy helps with the nightmares. The colony is small, maybe 300 people, far enough from Earth's core systems that most news arrives late and nobody cares much when it does. He grows vegetables because the work is honest and doesn't involve anyone shooting at him. Repairs equipment for neighbors because he's good with machines and staying useful, helps him feel less like he's hiding from his past. Tries not to think about the 12 years he spent in the Colonial Defense Forces, fighting in conflicts that ended with too many names on memorial walls. His morning routine is predictable. Wake at 600 out of habit that won't break, check the atmospheric processor, brew coffee that's mostly chicory because actual coffee beans are expensive on frontier worlds, review the day's work. It's boring, it's peaceful, it's exactly what he needs. That predictability ends the morning he finds her standing at his door. He recognizes her immediately, not because they've met, but because her face is everywhere. Recruitment hollows, documentary streams, tactical analysis programs discussing her techniques. Zara Kelthais, the Blade of Terminus, champion of the Dreekan warrior clans, undefeated in formal combat for 15 years. She's appeared in more propaganda than most politicians, and is generally considered the most dangerous individual fighter in known space. She's also, Alex notes with the detached assessment that kept him alive through a dozen campaigns, unarmed and exhausted. Her characteristic long ears, rising from her skull in elegant tapered points, are drooping slightly. Her armor is travel-worn, not damaged. She's not in fighting stance. She's just standing there, looking at his door like she's not sure this is the right address. "Sergeant Alex Morgan," she says. Her voice is measured, careful, with perfect standard pronunciation that suggests either translation software or years of practice. "I've come to repay a debt." Alex's hand moves toward his sidearm. Old instincts don't die even 5 years into retirement. "I think you have the wrong person. We've never met. I'd remember meeting you. We met once, briefly. 12 years ago, on Corsath IV during the siege of the Northern Plateau." Zara's posture is non-threatening, but somehow that makes this more alarming. Legends don't show up at your door unarmed to discuss decade-old events without complications following. "You wouldn't remember me specifically. There was significant chaos at the time. May I enter? I've traveled 6 weeks to find you." Alex considers his options. If Zara wanted him dead, his door wouldn't stop her. She's famous for defeating opponents in armor from the outside while she was unarmored inside a building. If this is some elaborate setup, he's already committed by opening the door. And his curiosity has always been stronger than his self-preservation instinct, which his old co used to say was both his greatest strength and why he'd probably die young. "You can enter," he says, stepping back but keeping his hand near his weapon. "But I'm keeping my sidearm accessible. No offense intended, but you're kind of terrifying by reputation." "None taken. I've worked very hard on being terrifying. It's useful in my profession." She enters, and Alex is struck by how she moves, economical, precise, like someone who's calculated the optimal path through physical space and refuses to waste energy on deviation. She scans his cabin with what's definitely tactical assessment, catalogs exits and potential weapons, then visibly relaxes when she determines he's not an immediate threat. They sit at his kitchen table, which seats 4 but has only been used by one for 5 years. Alex pours himself coffee, offers her some. She accepts water instead. "Corsath IV," she begins after taking a long drink. "The Northern Plateau, 12 years ago, during the retreat from the encirclement. You were part of a colonial defense unit that got separated from the main force. Do you remember?" Alex remembers. That battle is filed in the section of his memory labeled "Reasons I Drink," alongside half a dozen others. His unit had been tasked with holding a choke point to cover civilian evacuation. They'd held for 3 days against forces that should have overrun them in hours. The retreat had been desperate, ammunition running low, wounded slowing them down, enemy forces closing from 3 sides. I remember. It wasn't my best day. What does a battle I barely survived have to do with you? I was there as an independent contractor. The Draken clans had hired me to assist in the defense of the eastern approaches. This was before I became as famous as I am now. I was competent but not yet legendary. Her ears flattened slightly in what Alex recognizes from his xenobiology briefings as embarrassment or shame. I made a tactical error. Underestimated enemy numbers, got pinned in a collapsed building with hostile forces closing my position. I was injured, ammunition depleted, certain I was about to die. And you found me. Or rather, your unit's retreat path passed near my position. I was calling for help in 3 languages, hoping someone would understand. You stopped. Zara's voice is precise, like she's reciting from memory. Your unit was carrying wounded. Everyone was exhausted. You had enemy forces closing your position. You had every tactical reason to continue moving. But you heard me calling and ordered your squad to extract me. Alex tries to remember. The retreat is a blur of gunfire and explosions and desperate decisions made with incomplete information. He'd given orders to help wounded they encountered. That was protocol. You don't leave people behind when you can avoid it. But specifically helping a Draken warrior. I don't remember you specifically. We picked up a lot of wounded during that evacuation. Civilians, other military units, whoever needed help. It's what you do in a retreat. You don't leave people to die if you can help it. I know, that's precisely what makes it significant. Zara leans forward slightly. You didn't help me because I was important or because you expected reward. You didn't even know who I was. I wasn't famous yet. You helped me because I was a person who needed help and you had the capability to provide it. You gave me your last medical kit. Put me on a stretcher your unit couldn't spare. Assigned 2 soldiers to carry me when you needed every person capable of fighting. I survived because you made the choice to help someone who wasn't your responsibility. That's just basic human decency. Anyone would have done the same. No, Zara's voice is flat, certain. Most would not have. In my experience, most military units prioritize their own survival. Most commanders make the tactical decision that one injured contractor isn't worth risking their people. You made a different choice. Alex drinks his coffee, trying to reconcile what she's describing with his memories of that day. He'd been operating on autopilot, too exhausted to think clearly, making decisions based on instinct and training. Help the wounded. Don't leave people behind. Get everyone to safety. Basic principles that seemed obvious at the time. Okay, so I helped evacuate you. I'm glad you survived. But that was 12 years ago. Why are you here now? Because in Draken culture, honor debts are sacred and binding. When someone saves your life, you're obligated to them until the debt is repaid. I've spent 12 years searching for you. She says this like it's the most natural thing in the world. The colonial defense forces don't share personnel records easily, particularly for retired soldiers living under privacy seals. It took significant resources and time to locate you. Alex sets down his coffee before he drops it. You spent 12 years looking for me, to repay a debt for something I did during a routine evacuation. It wasn't routine to me, and yes, 12 years. The debt is real whether or not you remember creating it. And because. She pauses, choosing words carefully. Because during those 12 years of searching, I learned things about you. Your service record, the parts that aren't classified, your decisions under fire, the way you led your unit. You're not just the soldier who saved me once. You're someone who consistently makes choices to help others, even when it's tactically inadvisable, even when there's no recognition or reward. That pattern matters. I'm retired. I'm not that person anymore. I grow vegetables and fix broken equipment and try to live quietly. I know. I've been monitoring this colony for 3 weeks before approaching you. I know about your garden, your repair work. your efforts to integrate into this community while maintaining distance from your past. Zara reaches into her pack slowly, clearly telegraphing the movement, and produces a data crystal. I've brought payment, credits, equipment specifications, contacts within military and civilian organizations across 6 sectors. Whatever resources you need to maintain your quiet life, I can provide. Consider the debt satisfied. Alex looks at the crystal, looks at Zara, tries to process that the galaxy's most famous warrior traveled 6 weeks to a frontier colony to deliver payment for a rescue he barely remembers. This is insane. Also somewhat touching in a weird way, but mostly insane. He pushes the crystal back across the table. I don't want payment. I was doing my job. People needed help. I helped them. That's it. No debt was created that requires repayment. Zara stares at the crystal like it's betrayed her. Her ears do something complicated that Alex can't interpret. You refuse payment. That's not how honor debts function. I came here to repay an obligation that's bound me for 12 years. You can't just refuse. I can, actually. Watch, I refuse. No payment necessary. The debt, if there ever was one, is satisfied by you being alive and apparently very successful at your profession. That's enough. But the cultural significance doesn't apply to me. I'm human. We don't have honor debt systems. We just help people when they need help and move on. Alex stands to refill his coffee because this conversation requires more caffeine than he'd anticipated. Though I have questions, like why you're personally delivering this instead of sending a courier, and why you look like you haven't slept properly in weeks, and what you actually want, because traveling 6 weeks to deliver payment for a 12-year-old rescue seems like there's more to this story. Zara is quiet for a long moment. Her ears cycle through several positions before settling into something that might indicate uncertainty. Because I needed to see you in person. To understand the kind of person who makes choices like you made 12 years ago, and because she seems to struggle with something. Because I'm tired, Sergeant Morgan. I've spent 15 years fighting, building reputation, becoming the blade of Terminus, the undefeated champion, the legend that appears in propaganda. And somewhere in the last 12 years of searching for you, I realized I'd been asking the wrong question. Which was, I'd been asking, how do I repay this debt? When the question I should have been asking was, how did this human soldier, in the middle of a desperate retreat, decide that one more wounded person was worth the risk when every tactical consideration argued against it? She looks at him directly, and Alex sees exhaustion underneath the legendary reputation. I came here to pay a debt, but I'm realizing I came here because I need to understand something. How do you become the kind of person who creates honor debts without trying? What makes someone choose to help when there's no benefit, no recognition, no strategic advantage? Alex sits back down, processing this. You came here for philosophical guidance, from a vegetable farmer. I came here because you're the only person I've encountered in 15 years of fighting who helped me without calculation, who saw someone in need and responded with compassion instead of tactical analysis. Zara's voice is quieter now. I've killed 47 people in formal combat. All volunteers, all knowing the risks, all within legal frameworks. But I remember every name, every face. And I'm starting to realize that being the best fighter in the galaxy isn't the same as being a good person. You made me realize that 12 years ago, even though I didn't understand it at the time. And now I'm here, exhausted, trying to understand how to be something more than just a weapon everyone fears. She looks around his cabin at the simple life he's built. You left the military, chose peace over continued service. How did you know it was time? How did you recognize you needed to stop? Alex considers this question carefully. I didn't recognize it myself. My commanding officer recognized it before I did, told me I was getting numb, making decisions too easily, losing the part of me that cared about the cost. She suggested extended leave. After 3 months away, I realized I felt human again, so I made it permanent. That simple, that complicated. Leaving meant giving up identity, structure, purpose, relationships with people who understood what I'd been through. It meant admitting I had limits, accepting that I'd done enough even though the work wasn't finished. Alex pauses. It's not simple, but it was necessary. I was becoming someone I didn't want to be, someone who could make the hard calls without feeling them. That efficiency is useful in war. It's poison for your humanity. Zara's ears are rotating through positions that suggest she's processing something profound. I've been trained since childhood that emotional detachment is strength, that caring about opponents is weakness, that efficiency in combat is the highest virtue. Your training is wrong about that. Efficiency without compassion is just murder with better documentation. Alex realizes he's being blunt, softens his tone slightly. Look, I don't know Dreekan culture. Maybe what I'm saying doesn't translate. But for humans, the thing that keeps us human in combat is caring. Remembering that every target is a person. Feeling the weight of necessary violence. The moment you stop caring is the moment you become something that isn't worth being. That sounds exhausting. It is, that's why I retired. But it's better than the alternative, becoming so efficient at violence that you forget why you're fighting in the first place. He studies her, this legendary warrior sitting in his kitchen looking exhausted. You haven't slept well in weeks. When's the last time you had a conversation that wasn't about contracts or combat? I don't remember, months maybe. Zara seems surprised by her own answer. I'm always moving. Contract to contract, battle to battle, maintaining reputation. People fear me or want to challenge me or try to hire me. No one just talks to me as a person rather than as the blade of Terminus. That sounds lonely. It is. I didn't realize how lonely until I started searching for you and had time to think during travel. She looks at him. May I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you regret it? Leaving the military, choosing this quiet life, giving up the sense of purpose that comes with important work. Alex considers this while drinking coffee that's gone lukewarm. I miss parts of it. The camaraderie, feeling like I was protecting something. But I don't miss the killing. Don't miss the weight of command, knowing my decisions could get people killed. Don't miss becoming someone I didn't like very much. He sets down his cup. This is important work too. Growing things, building a quiet life, learning to be at peace with the choices I made. It's not glamorous. Nobody's writing propaganda about my tomatoes, but it matters. To whom? To me, that's enough. Zara looks at the data crystal still sitting between them. I brought resources to repay a debt, but what you're describing isn't something that can be repaid with credits or equipment. You gave me something more valuable than life. You demonstrated that it's possible to choose compassion in the middle of violence. That caring isn't weakness. I've spent 12 years trying to repay that, and I'm realizing the debt is different than I thought. There's no debt, Alex says firmly. But if you need somewhere to rest, to think, to figure out what you want beyond being the most feared warrior in the galaxy, you can stay, for a while. No obligation, no payment required. Just someone offering hospitality to someone who looks like they need it. Zara's ears do something that might be the Dreekan equivalent of crying, though no tears fall. Why would you offer that? You don't know me. I could be dangerous. You are dangerous, but you're also exhausted and asking questions about meaning and purpose. That combination suggests you're not a threat, you're someone at a crossroads. He stands, moves to his small pantry. Have you eaten today? I don't remember. That's what I thought. Stay, have food, sleep in an actual bed instead of a ship berth. Take a few days to rest before you head back to being legendary. Consider it hospitality, not debt repayment. Hospitality. Yeah, the thing people do for each other when they're decent. No strings attached. You stay as long as you need, leave when you're ready. And the only obligation is that you don't murder anyone in my colony because that would create significant paperwork. Zara laughs, a sound that seems to surprise her. That's a very reasonable boundary. I thought so. Now, are you going to keep staring at that data crystal, or are you going to accept that I'm not taking payment and let me feed you? She pushes the crystal back into her pack slowly. I'll stay for a few days to rest, and then I need to return to my contracts. Sounds like a plan. Alex starts pulling ingredients from storage. Fair warning, I'm not a great cook, functional but not impressive. Functional food sounds perfect right now. They eat simple food, protein rations rehydrated with local vegetables, nothing fancy but better than ship provisions. Zara eats like someone whose forgotten meals exist as something other than fuel. They don't talk much during the meal, but it's comfortable silence rather than awkward. After Alex shows her the small guest room he's maintained mostly out of habit. It's not luxurious, but it's quiet and the bed's comfortable. Bathrooms through there. You need anything, I'm up early, occupational hazard, so just ask. Thank you. Zara stands in the doorway, looking uncertain in ways that seem at odds with her reputation. Alex, may I call you Alex? Sure. Thank you for not treating me like the blade of Terminus. For seeing someone who needed rest instead of just a reputation. It's been a long time since anyone did that. You're welcome. Now get some sleep. You look like you need about 16 hours of it. She does sleep. Alex can hear her from the other room, deep steady breathing that suggests genuine rest rather than combat alertness. He sits up later than usual, thinking about honor debts and exhausted warriors, and the strange ways life circles back on itself. He'd pulled someone out of rubble 12 years ago because it was the right thing to do. Now that person has traveled across 6 sectors to repay a debt he never considered creating. And somehow, in the process, he's ended up hosting the galaxy's most dangerous individual while she figures out what she wants beyond reputation. His quiet retirement just got significantly more complicated. But as he finally heads to his own bed, Alex realizes he doesn't mind. He spent 5 years avoiding his past, trying to forget what he was. Maybe having someone here who understands what it means to carry that weight, who's asking the same questions about meaning and purpose. Maybe that's not complication. Maybe that's exactly what they both need. He'll figure it out in the morning. For now, he sleeps, and so does the legendary warrior in his guest room, and the quiet cabin on the edge of civilization holds them both. Alex wakes at 600 out of habit that 5 years of retirement hasn't broken. He's halfway through his morning routine, checking the atmospheric processor, starting coffee, when he remembers he has a guest. A guest who happens to be the most famous warrior in the galaxy, currently sleeping in his spare room because she spent 12 years trying to repay a debt he didn't know existed. His life has gotten weird. He makes extra coffee, starts breakfast, and is debating whether to wake her or let her sleep when Zara emerges from the guest room. She's clearly been awake for a while. Her armor is cleaned, adjusted, and she moves with the alertness of someone who's gotten actual rest for the first time in weeks. Morning, Alex offers. Coffee. Please. She accepts the cup, drinks it black. She exists. She's sitting in my kitchen asking philosophical questions instead of just dropping off payment and leaving. She's someone who spent 12 years searching for a random soldier because she wanted to understand something about compassion and choice. That's not the action of a weapon. That's the action of a person trying to figure out who she wants to be. And you think you can help me figure that out in a few days on a frontier colony. I think I can give you space to think without everyone treating you like a legend, and maybe share some perspective from someone who's walked away from a military identity. Alex stands to refill coffee. But I'm not a therapist or a philosopher. I'm a guy who grows vegetables and tries not to have nightmares. If you're looking for deep wisdom, you're in the wrong place. Maybe deep wisdom isn't what I need. Maybe I just need someone to talk to who doesn't fear me or want something from me. Zara accepts more coffee. Can I ask about Corsath IV? About the battle? I have fragments of memory, But I was injured and the reports are classified. What do you want to know? Everything. What happened, how you made your decisions, why you chose to help wounded during a retreat when tactical doctrine would suggest leaving them. Alex takes a breath, reaches into memories he usually keeps locked away. We were holding a choke point to cover civilian evacuation. 3 days of constant fighting, we were exhausted, low on ammunition, taking casualties. Command ordered us to retreat before we got completely surrounded. Standard procedure says you move fast, don't stop, get to the rally point. But you stopped. Multiple times. We encountered wounded, ours, allies, civilians caught in the wrong place. Each time I made the call to help them. Slow down the retreat, assign people to carry stretchers, protect the wounded during movement. My second-in-command kept telling me we were risking the entire unit. She was right tactically, it was stupid. But I couldn't leave them, couldn't just walk past people begging for help, even though it risked your mission. The mission was to get everyone to safety. Everyone includes the people we found along the way. Alex stares at his coffee. We made it, barely. Lost 7 people doing it, 3 KIA, 4 wounded badly enough they were discharged. Could have lost more if we'd moved faster and left the wounded behind. Could have lost fewer if we'd been more selective about who we helped. I'll never know if I made the right call. But you'd make the same choice again. Yeah, because the alternative is becoming someone who can walk past people in need because helping isn't convenient. That's a line I refuse to cross. Once you cross it, once you start calculating the value of lives based on tactical advantage, you become something that isn't worth being. Zara is quiet, processing this. In Draken warrior culture, we're taught that combat efficiency is paramount, that emotional decisions compromise victory, that caring about opponents or even allies during battle is a weakness that gets you killed. Your culture produces excellent fighters, but does it produce good people? That's not a question we ask. Combat prowess determines status. The strongest, fastest, most skilled warriors are most valued. What you are outside of combat is irrelevant. That sounds exhausting and lonely. It is. Zara's voice is quiet. I realized that while searching for you. I'm the best fighter my people have produced in generations. I have wealth, status, respect based on fear, and I'm completely alone. I have competitors, clients, opponents. I don't have friends. Don't have people who see me as anything other than the blade of Terminus. Is that what you want? To keep being the legend until you're too old or injured to fight? No, but I don't know what else I can be. Fighting is what I'm good at. It's my value to society. You're also good at tactical analysis from what I saw of how you evaluated my cabin yesterday. You're good at languages. Your standard is flawless. You're good at persistence. 12 years of searching proves that. And you're good at asking hard questions about meaning and purpose. Those are all valuable skills that have nothing to do with combat. Zara's ears rise slightly, hope mixed with uncertainty. You think I could be more than a fighter? I think you already are more. You just haven't had space to figure out what that means. Alex stands. Come on. I need to check my garden. You can help or watch or ask more questions about my terrible decision-making during retreats. Up to you. I'll help if you'll teach me. They spend the morning in Alex's garden. A modest plot that produces enough vegetables to supplement his diet and trade with neighbors. Zara approaches gardening with the same focus she probably applies to combat, asking detailed questions about soil composition, optimal spacing, water requirements. You're very precise about this, Alex observes while showing her how to check tomatoes for ripeness. Agriculture is resource management and timing, not that different from military logistics. She examines a tomato like it's a tactical problem. This one is ready for harvest. Yeah, color's right, feels firm but not hard. Good job. They harvest in comfortable silence for a while. Then Zara asks, do you ever miss it? The military, the purpose, the feeling of doing important work. Sometimes. usually late at night when the quiet gets too loud. Alex moves to the next plant, but then I remember why I left. Remember the weight of sending people into danger. Remember becoming someone who could make those calls without feeling them. I miss the parts that made me feel useful. I don't miss the parts that made me feel like a monster. You're not a monster, you saved people. I also killed people, made decisions that got others killed, followed orders I disagreed with because that's what soldiers do. You accumulate that long enough and you have to decide, keep going and lose more of yourself, or stop while you're still someone you can live with. He looks at her. You're asking these questions because you're facing the same choice, aren't you? Keep being the blade of Terminus until that's all you are, or figure out what Zara wants beyond reputation. Yes. Zara sets down the tomatoes she's been holding carefully. I don't know if I'm ready to stop fighting, but I know I can't keep doing it the way I have been. Something has to change, or I'll become exactly what my culture trained me to be, a perfect weapon with no personality beyond combat. And I've spent 12 years learning that you're right. That efficiency without compassion is just murder with documentation. So what do you want to change? I want to learn to be a person, to have identity beyond fighting, to make choices based on what's right instead of just what's effective. She pauses. I want to understand how you can carry the weight of command, the deaths you've caused and witnessed, and still be someone who grows tomatoes and helps neighbors fix equipment. How do you live with what you've done? Alex is quiet for a moment. You accept that you did what you thought was right with the information you had. You acknowledge the cost, don't minimize it or justify it away. You carry the weight because pretending it doesn't exist is dishonest. And you try to balance it by creating instead of destroying, by helping instead of hurting, by choosing compassion whenever you can. That's it, you just decide to be better. You decide and then you do the work. Every day. Some days are easier than others. Some days the weight is crushing and you wonder if you'll ever feel clean again. But you keep choosing to be someone worth being. Eventually, it gets easier. He hands her another tomato. And you find things that help, work that matters, community that supports you, purpose that isn't based on violence. Gardens help. So does fixing broken things. So does having someone to talk to who understands. Zara harvests another tomato, examining it like it holds secrets. Thank you for this. For letting me stay, for talking instead of just accepting payment and sending me away. For treating me like a person instead of a legend. You're welcome. Though fair warning, if you stay much longer, I'm going to put you to work on actual repairs. My atmospheric processor needs recalibration and I hate doing it. I can recalibrate atmospheric processors. It's not that different from ship environmental systems. Of course you can. Is there anything you're not good at? Apparently gardening, based on how carefully you're supervising my tomato harvesting. You're doing fine, I'm just thorough. Alex grins. Come on, let's get these inside and then I'll show you the processor. If you can fix it better than I can, I'll let you stay as long as you want. That's a low bar. Yeah, but I'm curious if the galaxy's greatest warrior can also be a decent technician. Challenge accepted. They spend the afternoon working on the atmospheric processor. Zara proves to be exactly as competent with technical systems as Alex expected. She analyzes the problem, identifies inefficiencies he hadn't noticed, and implements modifications that improve output by 30%. Okay, you're showing off now, Alex says, watching her work. I'm being thorough, there's a difference. But she's almost smiling. This is surprisingly satisfying, fixing something instead of breaking it, creating efficiency instead of casualties. Welcome to civilian life. We fix things and grow things and occasionally have philosophical conversations about meaning. I could get used to this. You say that now. Wait until you've been here a month and you're bored out of your mind because nothing explodes and nobody's trying to kill you. Zara's ears rotate thoughtfully. I don't think I'll be bored, but I can only stay a few more days. I have contracts waiting, obligations. People are expecting the blade of Terminus to return. Will you return here, I mean, after you finish whatever contracts are waiting? She looks at him seriously. Would that be acceptable if I came back for longer than a few days? It would be very acceptable. Doors always open. Fair warning, though, the quiet life is harder than it looks. No glory, no reputation, just daily choices to keep building something peaceful. Some people find that boring. Some people haven't spent 15 years fighting. I think I'm ready to try building something instead of just maintaining reputation. Zara stands, surveys the repairs they've made. I'll need to finish current obligations first, arrange my contracts to allow for extended leave. That will take time. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, growing vegetables, fixing equipment, living quietly. They finish the repairs as New Haven's sun begins setting, a process that turns the sky shades of purple and orange that Alex has never gotten tired of watching. They sit on his porch, drinking terrible coffee, watching the light fade. "Can I ask you something?" Zara says after a while. "Sure. When you saved me 12 years ago, did you know it would matter? That it would change anything?" "No. I was just trying to get everyone to safety. You were one person among dozens we helped that day. I didn't think about long-term impact. I just knew leaving you would be wrong. And now, 12 years later, the person you saved is sitting on your porch asking questions about meaning and purpose, instead of just paying a debt and leaving. Does that change how you think about that choice?" Alex considers this. "It makes me glad I made it. Not because you're famous, but because you're here asking these questions, trying to become more than your reputation. That's worth knowing about. Worth having been part of, even accidentally." "You're a good person, Alex Morgan. I'm a person who tries to make decent choices. Some days I succeed, some days I fail, but I keep trying, and that has to count for something." They sit in comfortable silence, watching stars appear as New Haven's sun finally sets. The legendary warrior and the retired soldier, finding unexpected common ground in questions neither has fully answered. Tomorrow, Zara will leave. Will return to her contracts and her reputation and the life of being the blade of Terminus. But she'll come back. Alex is certain of that now, because she's found something here she didn't know she was looking for. Space to be a person instead of a legend. Someone to talk to who sees beyond reputation, and proof that there's more to life than just being the best at violence. And Alex has found that his quiet retirement is better with someone to share it. Someone who understands what it means to carry weight from the past. Someone who's choosing to become more than what their training demanded. The debt is repaid, not through credits or equipment, but through understanding and choice and the beginning of something that might be friendship. That's worth more than any payment could have been. 3 weeks after Zara's arrival, Alex wakes to find her packed and ready to leave. He's not surprised. She'd always been clear this was temporary, that she had obligations waiting. But he discovers he's disappointed anyway, which suggests the legendary warrior has become his friend faster than expected. Contracts calling you back. He asks over morning coffee that's become a shared ritual. "Yes. I have outstanding obligations that require attention. I've stayed longer than intended." Zara's ears are cycling through positions that might indicate regret. "But I wanted to talk before leaving, about what happens next." "Next? I need to finish current contracts, close out obligations, but then..." She pauses. "I've accumulated substantial leave time, months of it. I never took leave before because I had nowhere to go, nothing to do that wasn't combat-related. But now I'm considering using it, coming back here, for longer than 3 weeks. To grow vegetables and fix atmospheric processors. To learn what it means to live without fighting. To figure out who I am beyond the blade of Terminus. She starts again. To see if it's possible to become someone who creates things instead of just destroying them. If that would be acceptable to you." Alex sets down his coffee. "It would be very acceptable. But you need to be sure. This isn't a vacation. This is choosing to step away from who you've been. That's hard. Some days you'll want to go back to fighting because it's familiar and you're good at it. You'll question whether peace is worth the discomfort of change. I know. I've been thinking about that for 3 weeks while I helped with your garden and repaired equipment, and had the longest sustained conversation of my life. Zara looks at him directly. I'm not sure I can completely stop fighting. I'm good at it, and there are situations that genuinely need someone with my skills, but I can be more selective. Fight when it matters instead of just maintaining reputation. Have a life beyond combat instead of making combat my entire existence. That sounds like growth. It sounds terrifying, but less terrifying than continuing as I have been. She pauses. You asked earlier what I want beyond reputation. I'm starting to have an answer. I want to be someone who can fix things, grow things, help people in ways that don't involve violence. I want to learn what you've learned, how to live with what I've done, how to find purpose in creating instead of destroying, how to be at peace with myself. That's ambitious for a few months of leave. I'm a fast learner, and I'll have a good teacher, someone who's already walked this path. Zara almost smiles. If you're willing to tolerate having the galaxy's most famous warrior as a long-term guest, I think I can manage. Though fair warning, the colony's going to have opinions about this. Frontier settlements gossip. Let them. I'm tired of reputation management. If people want to gossip about the blade of Terminus learning to grow tomatoes, let them. Alex grins. That's possibly the healthiest thing I've heard you say. Okay, so you finish your contracts, arrange extended leave, come back when you're ready. How long do you think that'll take? 3 months, maybe 4. I have obligations across 3 sectors and I need to close them out properly. Zara stands, shoulders her pack. Thank you, Alex, for everything. For the hospitality, the honest conversations, for treating me like a person instead of a legend. You've given me something I didn't know I was missing. What's that? Hope that I can be more than what I've been. That change is possible. That there's value in choosing peace over glory. She extends her hand in the human gesture they've been using. I'll be back, that's a promise. Alex takes her hand. I'll be here, growing vegetables, fixing equipment, living quietly. And when you come back, we'll figure out together what it means to rebuild yourself. They walk to her ship together, a sleek personal craft that probably costs more than Alex's entire colony. At the boarding ramp, Zara pauses. One more thing. The data crystal, the payment I brought. I'm leaving it with you, not as payment for a debt but as resources for when I return, to help set up whatever life we build here. We, Alex asks, if that's acceptable. I'm not just visiting or studying you like an anthropology project. She seems to search for words. I'm proposing a partnership. You teach me to live in peace. I help with repairs and security and whatever else my skills can contribute. We figure out together what it means to be more than our pasts. That sounds less like repaying a debt and more like building a future. Yes, is that acceptable? Alex considers this. Considers the last 3 weeks of having company who understands, who's asking the same questions he's been asking himself. Considers that his quiet retirement might be better with someone to share it. Someone who's choosing to be here, who wants to learn and grow, who sees him as a person instead of just a veteran trying to forget. It's very acceptable. Come back when you're ready. We'll figure it out together. Zara's patterns shift to colors that Alex has learned mean joy mixed with relief. Thank you for believing change is possible, for offering space to try. Thank you for choosing to try. That takes courage. Alex steps back from the ship. Now go finish your contracts, close out your obligations, and come back ready to learn everything about atmospheric processors and vegetable cultivation. I will. See you in 3 months, Alex Morgan. See you in 3 months, Zara Kelthais. Try not to get challenged to too many duels before then. I'll do my best. Her ship lifts smoothly, disappearing into New Haven's sky. Alex watches until it's gone, then returns to his cabin, to his garden, to his quiet life that's about to become less quiet and potentially more meaningful. 3 months. He can wait 3 months. And when Zara returns, not as the blade of Terminus paying a debt, but as a person choosing to build something new, they'll figure out together what it means to live with purpose beyond reputation, to find peace after violence, to create instead of destroy. Because that's what humans do. They offer second chances. They believe change is possible. They look at legendary warriors exhausted from years of fighting and see people who deserve rest, growth, the opportunity to become more than their pasts demand. And sometimes, the most important battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought with choice. The choice to be different, to try something new, to believe that who you've been doesn't have to define who you become. Alex returns to his garden, to his vegetables that need tending, to his life that's quiet but meaningful. And he thinks about a legendary warrior who traveled 6 weeks to repay a debt and ended up discovering she wanted more than just obligation. She wanted transformation. 3 months. Then they'll start building something neither expected but both need. A partnership based not on debt or obligation, but on mutual understanding, shared growth, and the recognition that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is admit you need help becoming who you want to be. The tomatoes need harvesting. The atmospheric processor is running better than it has in years. The colony gossips, but Alex doesn't care. His life is good, and it's about to get better. Because sometimes, saving someone's life 12 years ago comes back in ways you never expected. Not as debt, but as opportunity. Not as obligation, but as choice. And sometimes, the most legendary warriors in the galaxy discover that growing vegetables with someone who understands is better than winning battles alone. Alex harvests his tomatoes and thinks about the future, about teaching someone to live in peace, about learning that his quiet retirement might be exactly what someone else needs to find their own path, about the strange ways compassion creates connections that transcend culture, species, and time. 3 months until Zara returns, until they start building something new together, until the retired soldier and the legendary warrior figure out what it means to choose peace over glory, growth over reputation, companionship over isolation. It's going to be interesting. Alex is looking forward to it.